From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
Miss Vicky.
Yes, sir.
You know what?
What?
I've been thinking about this Sentinel system.
Yeah. Tell me about the Sentinel system.
So what I was thinking was we have the one car that's got the aim dash that's slowing us down. Because installing the aim dash is actually, it probably is easy, but it's quite hard the first time. We haven't figured that out yet. The Sentinel system is really easy to set up. So what I was thinking was, why don't we put it in the Lemons car? And we'll worry about the aim data information separately. And we'll kind of break it down into a project. Because then we'd have the motorsports video system that we really, really want, and we'd be able to stream it. We just won't have the data inside, but we have the data outside, so we can combine them later. But I think that's a really good solution.
So what does this Sentinel system do?
Well, if it had the aim data, it would have all the data on the screen, and you could see all their telemetry and everything live. But we'd be able to not only record it for viewing after the race, but we could actually watch our car during the race.
Ooh, like on the monitor and everything?
On a monitor, if you were at home and I was at a track, or if you were at the track and I was at home, depends on who gets the short straw, but we'd be able to watch each other.
It's something I've always wanted to do.
And you know what? If you're driving, you know what you can do on the Sentinel system?
What's that?
You can communicate to me with your hands, and I can't do a thing about it.
Even better.
So, if you need to give a wave or a Jersey wave, whatever you need, we could save it and see it on the screen. And then you can have up to 3 different cameras, and it'll have picture in picture. You'll have the basic main shot out the front window, and then 2 cameras where you put them wherever you want. One could be on the driver, or one could be on the rear view. It's kind of cool.
Then we can upload it onto YouTube.
We could bore millions of people on YouTube.
I love it.
All right. Very well. You know what the only downside I see about this?
But
Your mom and my mom are going to be panic stricken the entire weekend watching this thing to see if everything's going well.
this is true.
We probably shouldn't tell them.
I like the idea of having a sentinel.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily we have maybe 2. Depends on how things go. We're going to try. All right. That sounds like a plan. That's the project. We got to get that ready for the next race.
Sounds great.
All right. Very well. Thank you, ma'am. Ben Dawson. I need some Ben Dawson.
Oh boy.
I think he loves that one.
It's a great day in Ben Dawson's garage. How may I direct your call?
Wait. Let me try this again. I'll use Vicky's. Hi, Ben.
Oh, hey, what's up? I'm really glad to hear from you. What's going on, Bill? Birthday, Bill. What's up? What's up, big dog? Would you just turn 38?
Times 2. Anyway.
Man,
I can no longer drive 55. I have exceeded the speed limit. Anyway.
Sweet. All right.
Thank you very much. I'll be here all week. Tip your waiters. Tip your waitresses. Ready. All right. Question. Racing 101. Yes. Jargon and safety. What is pad walk back? And what does it feel like? And how do you fix it?
Oh.
Just in case you feel something and you're like, I don't know what that was. It's not good.
Yeah, I've never heard that term before, but I know exactly what you mean. I've also heard that referred to as pad knockback.
Knockback, I've heard that too, yeah.
See, Bill said pad walk back. I say right. Pad knockback.
Well, you're more aggressive, Ben.
What we're talking about is this is something that happened to you if you've been driving your car on track in a style akin to, you could say, my style, which is clouding over every possible curve that makes geometrical sense and straightens you out. So anything that makes sense and lets you get the wheel straight, if it's a curve in the way, I'm going to jump it. As long as it's not a kind of curve that's super upsetting. There's like the way inner curves at Laguna Seca that you can't touch. There's curves at my local South Carolina track. There's like 2 curves that you can't touch because they'll just rattle the exhaust off the car. But for the most part, I'm going to kind of be jumping through the curves if it kind of helps me geometrically and helps me, like the Duke boys said, straightening the curves, flattening the hills, that kind of crap. So also sometimes as a symptom of doing that, you kind of can, the wheel wobbles enough that it can kind of push your brake pads back away from the brake rotor so that the next time you go to apply the brakes, instead of having that firm pedal with the immediate pressure right as soon as you hit the pedal, like you had when you bled the brakes in the garage before the race, suddenly you have a longer pedal, which means you're pushing the pedal farther before you get any brake engagement, which can be pants shittingly terrifying if you're going 130 or whatever, and it's time you need the brakes, and you forgot that, oh crap, I just went through this whole section where I just rode down through all these curves. So the brakes are in there, but just physically the pads have been pushed further away from the rotor, whereas typically once you've done some braking, the pads still remain right at the face of the rotor. In this case, they've been knocked back or walked back a little bit by the force of you driving over a bunch of disruptive crap in the road, likely curbs, possibly turtles or eagles, depending on what kind of detritus has been strewn across the track in front of you. But whatever it is, you've knocked the pads back a little bit away from the road. I've never had this really be a significant factor. The only time I've really encountered this is when my brake pads were already dead on the car and I was trying to drive like metal on metal like a dummy and trying to save money. But this is a thing that can happen. And have you guys ever experienced this?
No.
It's because Vicky maintains all my cars.
I never experienced that, and what that from the mechanic side of things, what that would tell me is that the vibration of running over those rumble strips is causing the caliper to compress,
right.
Which means that your brake system is not. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Your pressure in your brake system is not right. Something might be leaking. You might have a bad seal or something like that, or your caliper is starting to fail. That to me would mean that you need to replace those calipers if that's happening to you, especially if it's happening on a consistent basis.
Right. So if I understand you right, you're saying that's not something you've run across a lot either or ever. Is that what you said? I missed the first part.
Correct. No, never.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds, like an incredibly dangerous situation. Like there's actually something wrong with your brake system.
Well, and apparently it is common enough on some types of cars and braking system that everybody kind of knows the term. And I was watching some of the recent like IMSA and supporting races from VIR. Oh, I think it was the MX5 Cup race. That's right. I was watching the MX5 cars that were racing at VIR, and it was a battle for one of the podium spots. And you see this guy. I'm watching the following car trying to pass a guy in the turn one, and not way before, but well before that car should be braking. You see his brake lights flash a little bit, and I knew exactly what he was doing. What people do is they'll do like a little confidence tap on the brakes, to just make sure that the pads are all the way back up by the rotor. So I think the people who get in this habit of doing it are people who've had this pad knockback thing happen to them before. But there are plenty of times, and I've seen this in race traffic too myself, where you're in the middle of the straightaway and suddenly you see somebody's brake lights flash. Like, I don't panic. I know what they're doing is they're just you're slapping the pedal. You're not trying to really apply any pressure. All you're trying to do is just slap the pedal a little bit, like my hand clap that nobody can see is doing. But what you're doing is you're just bringing the pads right back to the face of the rotor without really applying any pressure, not enough pressure to slow the car down. But it can unnerve the car behind you. So maybe that's why some folks do it. But the idea is to slap those pads right back to the face of the rotor if they've wandered off for whatever reason. Like, I'm not clear either. It seems like a bad sign if you're ending up with a long pedal after every braking, right? Like, I wouldn't feel great about that.
No. That was like, I mean, it wasn't pad knockback, but we had a car that had a vacuum issue with the brakes.
Ooh.
So we had the same thing straight away to tap the brakes to make sure that you were going to have brakes going into the corner.
Yeah.
Going into the braking
rough.
zone. But it wasn't the pad knockback.
Yeah, the only time I've had a similar symptom was where I've either overheated the brake pads on a stock street car that I should have been out on track with, and I keep having to like slap the pedal to give me some pressure back for the next 130 mile an hour braking zone. And I hope to have some brakes working. My dumbass didn't put the good fluid in, didn't put the good pads on. I've done it that way, and I've also tried to nickel and dime myself to death, to literal death, by running one more session than I should have on a set of Miata brake pads. I'm like, I got another set of these. And by the time I came back, I was like metal on metal, and that's why I kept getting a long pedal every time I really needed the brakes. So the times I've ended up with a long pedal that's akin to what you're trying to fight with the confidence tap or pad walk back. I guess it's usually been something I've done myself as a conscious choice that put me in danger. But if you got a long pedal, I'd be kind of worried about it. I hear that pad knockback is a thing. I don't know. Do you know what cars it happens to, Bill?
I know I've heard it on Miatas. I've heard it on other cars as well, but I don't want to disparage incorrectly. But it's something.
Oh, is Elon Musk paying for this podcast? Is this a
I believe we are still in search of our first sponsor. So Mr. Musk has yet to share any of his money with us. So no.
Okay.
I think the thing I wanted to talk about as this was kind of an entry, and I don't think Vicky's felt this on any of our cars yet. So thankfully,
I mean,
go ahead, Jay.
No, go ahead.
What are the feelings and what do they mean that you feel with a brake pedal that indicate something is wrong, and most of the time you should go into the pit?
Gotcha.
Okay.
First of all, if you have a chance to be the person in your race team that gets to sit in the car while you're bleeding the brakes and pump the pedal, be that person, because you're going to know exactly what the brakes should feel like when you get on track. Anybody agree with that?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. So you want to be intimately familiar with what the brake pedal pressure should feel like when it's ideal and fully there, which at that moment is right after you've bled the brakes with your buddies or your spouse or your dog who felt the little wrench or whatever. But ideally, you're the person on the pedal, so you've got a great idea with your foot what the pedal should feel like. And when it's not ideal, you go into that brake zone expecting the brakes to engage at one point, but they go way further than that. The pedal goes further down, and then there's your brakes. Hopefully there's some brakes. They may not even be the exact quantity of brakes you have, but anyway, the pedal travels further, and all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, why did the pedal go down so far? Am I going to make it? So that's the symptom I've seen. Like, oh, I'm going to die,
So if the pedal goes too far and you don't feel effective braking, that's a fluid issue.
Maybe the nub fell off of your. Oh no, that's the clutch, isn't it?
That's no, you're confusing. You're confusing yourself.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the little black rubber nub.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it happened at my last race.
That makes the lights go on, but that's a different
Yeah.
story.
That was terrible.
Okay.
Oh, man.
So if your brake pedal goes too far, that's a problem. What else,
Yeah.
Jeremy?
And if there's no brakes in there, once you get to the bottom of the stroke of the pedal and there's nothing there, that's one sign. Another
Right.
sign is if you get to the bottom of that stroke and there is some brakes there. Those are a couple different things you can see. Sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And you
What else?
should definitely be coming into the pits. So,
Yes, yeah.
well, the other thing, you could push on the brake pedal and not be able to move it and have zero brakes whatsoever. So
Ice mode, right?
yes, you could put 2 feet on that brake pedal and it not move at all. And then you have, clearly have no brakes because you're not being able to apply pressure to the calipers to squeeze those brakes. Anything really, honestly, in my opinion, anything that feels out of the normal for your brakes, you should be coming in and get it checked out. There is no race that's worth trying to win. That's worth, risking your life or the life of another racer because you have no brakes and you hit somebody at 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So anything out of the norm, in my opinion, you need to bring the car in and you need to look at it.
Okay. So real quick, brake knockback would mean there's like a hollow spot. Brake pedal goes a little bit and then it starts to catch and then you get pedal. That would be a problem, right?
Mhm.
Right. And
Mushy-
like, just so we understand, like the reason you've got a longer pedal, if you have this brake knockback situation, is because you're having to push the pedal further to physically bring the pads from further back away from the rotor face up to it. So that explains the difference in travel.
Right.
Yeah, either the pad or the piston, which it doesn't matter.
Right.
It ends up being the same thing.
Right.
And then you can have the long pedal, which is usually a brake fluid issue, right?
Yeah.
The
could be
long
brakes.
soft pedal.
Long soft pedal, not a lot of brake. And then you can have the mushy pedal,
Mhm.
which is usually a pad issue, right? Or did I get those two backwards? I always know they're both bad, so stop.
I'm not sure I've had mushy pedal, but I may have had
Like
it.
if your pads are getting too hot.
Yeah. If you're boiling, usually your pedals kind of feels like it just feels mushy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still not stopping.
Okay.
Right.
But the big thing is brakes are not something to be toyed with. If they're not right, bad things may happen unless you are really, really good and really, really experienced. Come into the pits.
Let me tell you, like three times I try to take my Focus ST out on track and was too lazy to put the good fluid and pads on. I would invariably lose get a long boiling brake fluid type situation at the end of the back straight at VIR where I was going like 130 something in Laguna Seca, that wherever the longest the fastest part of Laguna Seca, or no, I'm sorry, Sears Point. I also lost the brakes there. There's a local track with a big long straightaway that leads into a tight hairpin. Of course, I lost the brakes there. So like, luckily for me, like you said, Bill, if you're fairly experienced, you're likely to survive a no brake situation just fine. In none of those situations, I didn't go off track. I just made an ugly corner, but I figured it out. But that's not for everybody. Let me just tell you, you don't want to be going from 140 something or 130 something to needing to be going like 45, 50 with no brakes. It's not great.
It is not at all.
No.
Well, what did we learn about the brakes on the race truck?
We're not using them anymore. We're done. We're finished with them. We're
Well,
clamp the
that
lines off.
it's the tires that are heating up the brakes so quickly.
No
The
way.
rims.
The wheels, the
The
rims.
Yeah.
What pads are on there?
I don't know. ST43.
ST43s, yeah.
Okay, they should be able to do anything, I guess.
So the race truck, we didn't have any brake issues.
And we also have
But-
air vents and less aero on there, so it's getting more air.
No, he has the same arrow.
Not original. The original aero was all the way to the ground.
Oh.
Yeah, but no, we don't. The brakes are definitely heating up. The steel rims are holding all that heat. So it's wearing out the bearings faster. It's melting the paint off the rims. But we weren't really having any brake issues other than when the brake booster failed. And then, I put 2 feet on the brake pedal and still the vehicle didn't even slow down 3 miles an hour. So, we knew there was an issue there.
Jesus.
Tiny bit.
I told you the story about me at the pit race with the El Jefe, right?
No.
Oh, well, there's 2 stories. So one, this is when I first knew I was like getting into this racing thing, and Ben's heard this story, I don't know, like 5 times already. So I'm going through turn 1 at pit race.
Mm-hmm.
And pit race, it's a long straightaway, turn left after a big braking zone coming into it. And then you got a left-hand turn, it's about 90 degrees, really wide. And pretty good braking zone. So I get on the brakes and there's nothing there. And I just hanged it out and did the turn. And I had no brakes because I had boiled it. And my first thought was, damn, I could have gone through there so much faster all those other times, because I just did. So, my first inkling of Ben Dawson coming into my life.
There you go. That's right.
And then I bring it in. This is the second time I bring it in, and I'm bringing it to the paddock, and everybody's like, the brakes are on fire. So
They're on fire.
So Vicky gets out there with the fire extinguisher, jams herself right against the door, has the fire extinguisher pointing at the wheel. Meanwhile, hubby is still in the car with the car on fire, hearing all these people say how we're on fire, but she's got me blocked in. Like, apparently no big deal. Let's save the tire. Don't worry about Bill. He's fine. So.
Oh, you mean jammed up against your door?
Yeah, my door. Yeah.
He's lying. Lies. I
think you tried to trap him in there.
We have video.
Trap him in there. Wow.
Lies. All for a good story.
I think she just wanted to have more tub time. So, it wasn't competition anymore. Very well.
I just never seen brakes catch fire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So
that's how I used to bed in my car would text on me out. But if I brought him back in after bedding him on the street like a dickhead in the middle of the day, I'd come back in if they were on fire in my garage. I was like, got it.
So
the opinions of the host of this episode of Dominator Dawson are not recommending this.
Right. We are not recommending this at all. Learn from our mistakes.
That's right.
Let's rename these safety segment with Benjamin Dawson legal name.
As long as we have a different email address for this, I'm fine. Anyway, did we take care of pad knockback and brakes? Don't mess with brakes. Brakes are important, people.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm scared of brakes like I'm scared of the ocean. Like, I'll get in and play with it and have fun, but also, Jesus.
Yep.
Dude.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Every time you hit the brake pedal, you hear that theme like, be there, baby, be there. But also, one thing that we didn't really touch on is it's okay, even if you don't think your car is literally having a brake issue that day, that straightaway, that lap, it is totally okay to do a confidence tap. If you want to just do a tap to make sure that brakes are going to be there for you at that next thing. I never remember to do it because I'm a dummy and forget. There's nothing wrong with being super safe and driving down the straightaway and with your free foot, whichever free foot is not using the throttle, just kind of lift up there and just slap that brake pedal.
Usually the left one, just in case you're curious.
I'm not trying to kink shame anybody. That's why I said whatever foot you're using. But that you should feel a good familiar pressure with there when you do a little safety slap, just to make sure that the brakes are there. Most seasoned track people are going to understand what you're doing. If they see a brake light pop on for just a tiny amount of time, they're not going to freak out or like wreck. People are used to seeing people do a safety check just to make sure, are my brakes going to be there the next time I need them? And you might want to do it before you get to the braking zone where you're just going to jam on them, especially if you have any reason to be questioning how my brakes doing. Remind yourself to do a safety check on the way in before your next big braking application. Nothing wrong with that. Knock yourself out. Totally cool. Good idea.
100%.
Because the last thing you want to do is get to be good at threshold braking, Miss Vicky. Get right to the end, right where you need to be, and then hit the pedal, and there's nothing there.
That's actually the second to last thing you want to do. The very last thing you want to do is to take your Focus ST to a racetrack, fill it up with 3 other people every time you take it out on track. And the last time you're going to take it out on track, be like, I probably shouldn't even take it out this time. have somebody go, hey, can you take my 15 and 16-year-old daughter out? I got helmets for them. They just want to kind of see the track with the instructor. And they go, yeah, no problem. Then you take this guy's precious cargo out on track with you, and you lose the brakes when you're going 145. And you go and you start yanking up on the emergency brake, and you're stomping your brake pedal. And then one of those children looks at you and goes, hey, what's going on? I'm like, don't worry about it. And then we go in the next lap. But no, you never leave the track. That's the actual worst thing you could do, is to take somebody's kid out on track and then lose the brakes with them in the car. That's pretty bad. But okay, anyway, we all lived. It was fun.
Yet another reason to take up racing, because you too can have terrifying, horrible stories that everybody laughs at when you tell them.
It's so funny. Don't mess with your brakes. I've learned it the hard way.
Yeah, don't. Bad day.
Oh. Anything safety related, don't mess with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Miss Vicky, you good?
I'm good.
Jeremy?
I'm good.
All right. Ben, we did it.
I guess. Damn.
Another Dominating with Dawson in the books.
I'm good. Yes. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everybody.